Hello, and welcome to Rose Chronicles. Today, we're going to talk about self-awareness and being highly sensitive. I had this aha moment of they're one and the same. So let's dive into what I'm talking about here. I had a client session where she was experiencing very heightened emotions, feeling that high sensitivity of the world around her, her environment, and trying to balance, trying being the operative word, right? And feeling this guilt and this shame around her big feelings and the way in which she is reacting within her environment. So I explained this to her, and it was kind of an aha moment of I need to come on here. There's a requirement here to somebody else deserves to know this. And some of us just need that little refresher. And maybe this will help you deepen that understanding with awareness and being highly sensitive. We're not going to go down into the labels of uh, what some call highly sensitive. Um, I have highly sensitive children. I'm a highly sensitive individual. My husband is highly sensitive. My friends are everybody is highly sensitive in their own way. It's just a matter of, is it on or is it off? So let's come up with an example of what the heck I'm talking about here. Let's say you hit the 40 mark and something happens in your life and you're sitting here going, there's got to be something better than this. What am I doing? I'm not happy. I haven't been happy my whole life. What is happy? Do I even enjoy cooking dinner? Do I even enjoy going into my work? Do I even enjoy driving this car? Do I even enjoy getting up and showering? So, like all of these things start unraveling for us, right? And we begin to recognize specific things within our physical body. We begin to recognize things within our mental state. This is what we like to call the awakening, quote unquote. I like to refer or compare this to a newborn child. This is how self-awareness happens, right? Because we hit that 40 or we hit that specific part in our life where we're like, is this it? This can't be it. What if there's more? And then we spiral down that path, right? We recognize that either, we physically our physical body cannot go on like this. So something needs to change. And we dive into how is this going to change? Or maybe we have what they like to call a mental breakdown. And we know that something needs to change. We're not thriving the way that we should be. That there has to be something better than just the daily tasks, the getting up, the showering, going to work, coming home, feeding the children or feeding ourselves, going to sleep, the repetitive cycles, the what I like to call living on autopilot, because that's the way in which we learned how to live from our environments, from our institutions, from the books we read, from the movies and TV shows that we watch. So you hit that 40 marker, you hit that specific thing in your life, and you're like, WTF. This is not what I really want. And that's okay. So circling back to, this client is in like this big self-awareness and she's feeling it. She's in the feels. Her senses. So we have our taste, touch, smell, hearing, all of those senses, right? But then we have the extra. We have the ethereal. We have the light. We have the ethereal, and the ethereal is part of all of those senses, right? So we have all of it combined. So let's take it as like two bodies. You got your ethereal body that experiences very similar to what your physical body and the current quote unquote reality that you're living in. So, you're awakened. There's something that the switch came on, right? It was off for a while and now it's back on. And it's overwhelming. Why is it overwhelming? So here is what I like to compare it to, or say it's similar to. Let's think of a child that is conceived and is born into the world. They are highly sensitive. Why? Because they haven't experienced the room that they just moved, like they were living in a womb for so long and now they're out, right? And they're hearing things differently. Smell, taste, touch, all of those things. Their physical body is feeling differently. Their mental body is experiencing differently. Their emotions are being generated within them. They're taking in every single thing. Heightened sensitivity. This is just like self-awareness. This is just like that awakening where you're just like, oh my goodness. And then it's the same as like, I'm an empath and I can't go into the store, or I can't be in really large crowds because I just can't take it. What if you were to go, okay, so I'm moving through this, right? I'm moving through the imbalance that it creates when I'm in a crowd or when I go into Walmart, right? But if you were to just recognize it as I have a high sensitivity to my self-awareness, it shifts the perspective, right? Because nothing's wrong with you. We come from this place of something is wrong. It's the same as, this client who felt like something was wrong with her because she feels so much. And it's because you just went through the freaking birth canal and now you're out and you're like, holy moly, I've been quote unquote asleep for so long. And now I'm feeling everything. I'm feeling things in my mental body. All the things that were running on autopilot in my subconscious is now become conscious. I'm aware of my thoughts. I'm aware of the stories that I tell others. I'm aware of the pain within my physical body, the experience that I'm having within my physical body. I'm recognizing that my emotions have been trapped for so long, or, I've been afraid of this emotion, such as anger and rage, because holy moly, my parents, and you go down this giant rabbit hole of awareness that everything is so heightened. And we come from a state of wanting to almost withdraw. We go inwards. And going inwards is an amazing thing to do. And yes, and that's where it creates that heightened sensitivity within you, right? But think of our kids who we now label as highly sensitive. We begin to really, truly empathize. We begin to really, truly come into compassion for what they are experiencing because they don't have that filter. Just like a newborn baby, right? And then growing up into this moment, things have dampened within you. You have learned to adapt. You have learned to change who you are in order to feel safe, in order to feel accepted, in order to survive, but also to grow, to get to age 30, to get to age 40, to get to age 10. And it doesn't mean that you had a bad, what we like to call bad or traumatic childhood, but we are humans and part of us is survival, right? So all of these things that we've experienced created these filters and then created ways in which we acted in order to survive, which means that our light switch went off. And we felt less, we heard less, we listened less to that unique self within us. So this is your sign to give yourself grace and understand that you will move through it. It's going to be more than okay. And when you're feeling those heightened sensitivities, well, it just means that there's something to take a look at. Is there something that is requiring to be changed? Is there something that is requiring to be healed and transmuted and repaired in your life, in your emotional being, in your mental or your physical being, in the ethereal world? Everything becomes heightened. Everyone's like, oh my goodness, I opened up to my gifts. Your gifts were already here. Just like a babe, you came in with those gifts. We just shut out the world. We shut it off at times in order to adapt to what was going on around us. So you flipped on the light switch and now you can't flip it off. Sometimes you can. It's almost like learning how to balance, right? And understand that it's your choice to take things on. And we typically do when we're highly sensitive as a child, or in a heightened state of awareness as a child. We perceive so much. And personally, I believe that we all come in that way. We're all coming in that experience. It's just the way in which we have our circumstances in our life when we grow up. That depends on if we're dimming it, if we're using that dimmer switch. And sometimes we can dim it. So if you were able to turn off the switch, how about you move that switch from an off and on to a dimmer? And you can dim that down when you're in a specific space that, you still don't feel 100% safe in, or you feel that there's a lot of energy in that space. You choose. Now we are all co-connected, right? I've talked about that. We're all co-connected, but you choose whether or not you want to allow that connection to come in and create a balance or create an imbalance within you. And when people are like, well, like I can walk into my workplace and I can feel people's energy and they're not happy with me, or maybe it's at home. I want you to ask yourself if ask yourself if this is my heart feeling this or if it's my ego, if it's something that is my insecurity. Maybe there was an experience when you were a child where you were in school and something happened and you just didn't feel connected to others. So now that you're in a workplace, you're not feeling that connection. So it's like a mirror of things that we need to go and integrate and transmute, transform, ways in which we could really truly take that self-awareness and high sensitivity and allow it to be listened to, doing it through journaling, talking to somebody, it's a soundboard, doing one-to-one sessions with somebody, a counselor, whatever it is, voice clipping, getting it out and writing it down, or just allowing it to be heard. That is the important part, is allowing it to be heard and not shaming and judging yourself for it and feeling guilty for it. The reason that we feel this way is because we were told to be a certain way with our responses to our environment, to our relationships. So, yes, I'm recording when my family are home. So I had to close my door here. That is why we are so highly sensitive. So I want you to sit down and think about that word, highly sensitive. What does that mean to you? You know me, I love my words. They are a frequency. They carry our subconscious belief systems. So sit down and write down highly sensitivity. What does that mean for you? What did you experience as a highly sensitive being when you were a child? How was that received by others around you? How is it being received from others around you right now? Maybe it's triggering others and it's opening up their own wounds that need to be healed. And, maybe they're telling you to stop being so highly sensitive. and to really control that. And the reason that they're saying that is because something is uncomfortable within them. So it's not on you. However, it's really dependent on how you are responding in the moment through that high sensitivity. Anger is not something to be ashamed of, but we're taught to shame that. We're taught that it's not good. Sometimes we have amazing teachers as children, and they teach us how to regulate our emotions, how to take that anger and transform it into something, because anger is actually one of the most beautiful energies that you could have. So, how do you get there? How do you get to feeling good about any emotion that you have? Because any emotion, it's like the law of polarity, right? You have the not so great part of it, but then you have the good part of it. So, how do you merge that? How do you become in balance with both? Move through the emotion. You move through the good and the not so great parts of that energy, but coming back inwards, not looking outside of ourselves for how we are to respond. You have all the answers within you, you highly sensitive being, you beautiful, beautiful being. And the more that you come into that self-awareness, the more that, yes, you will feel all the feels when you go out into the world. And there are going to be times where you just want to hide from the world, especially when it comes to your self-awareness, because we go through spirals of that guilt and that shame, but then we come back up and we recognize that it's okay to feel that way. And we're able to move through those emotions and not allow our emotions to break us, because they never break us, but we fear them. So, how can you get out of that fear state? Dive into, again, how your emotions were received. What did you experience from your caregivers growing up when it came to anger or happiness or jealousy? What did you experience from your caregivers, your institutions, when you were highly sensitive, when you were in a unfiltered self-awareness? And you'll notice the way that in which that you are reacting to your world is based on those experiences. So mantras are amazing. Meditation is amazing. Take a look at those four bodies. How can you reconnect with them and listen to them every single day? And allow yourself the grace and allow yourself the gratitude of being the highly sensitive. Good fucking job for getting here. And take that off and off switch and turn it into a dimmer switch. You have all the tools, all the resources. They're everywhere. And what I have to say about that is don't listen with your ego. Okay. When we become into the self-awareness, we want to like eat everything up. We want to obtain all of the knowledge. But in order to really integrate that knowledge and have it merge with you, live your life. So, yes, there's always time to withdraw inwards and reconnect to self. And you can do that every single day without missing the experience of living outside of yourself. You can bring your internal self everywhere you go. So that's your message for today. We are all highly sensitive beings. And yes, we experience even more heightened sensitivity the more that we come into self-awareness. And it might feel like our world is falling. And if you're anything like me, you love tarot cards. So, let's look at the tower moment, right? And people are jumping out of this burning building. But you actually don't have to jump out of it. It's just your mind telling you that's your ego telling you, oh my God, this is making me feel really uncomfortable and unsafe. But your heart has the answer. Allow your heart to run the mind, not the mind run the heart. All right, everybody. Let me know in the comments how this resonated. Give me a like, subscribe, do all the things for support. And I know that my next one is going to be about crystals and how we can utilize crystals and what to be aware of when we're working with crystals and working with energy. Have a great one.